What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chicago, Illinois. Today we're at Graceland Cemetery, and we're going to talk about one of the biggest legends and lores when it comes to haunted locations in the Chicago area. Now, this is one of the most well-known and mysterious grave markers at Graceland Cemetery, and I'm going to tell you the story about it. So it's just over here. Right now we're in the middle of the cemetery, which is where the grave of Inez Clarke is, which is right here. Now, it's a life-sized and intricately detailed statue of a little girl named Inez, or Inez, depending on how you pronounce it. Now, this is one of the most interesting and probably well-known ghost stories in the Chicago area. Now, the statue rests inside this box, and it protects it from the elements, because in Chicago, the winters are rough, it gets snowy, it gets icy, and it would be really easy for this to damage. Now, as you can see right here, it's marked with the names of John N. Clark and Mary C. Clark, and we're going to talk a little bit about who we think Inez Clarke actually was. But as you can see, it says Inez right here, and this sculpture was done by a man named Andrew Gagel, and he was born in Germany in 1846, immigrated to the United States in 1872, and he lived just a few miles north of Graceland Cemetery until his death in 1938 at the age of 92. Now, people have debated for a long, long time as to, is this Inez Clarke? Is this somebody else? Now, according to legend and stories, Inez was a 6-year-old girl who was out on a summer picnic with her parents when she was struck by a bolt of lightning and killed during a summer thunderstorm. Now, there is another version of the story that said that she was accidentally locked out of the family home or was intentionally locked out as a punishment when she was hit by lightning. But either way, the theory was that she was struck and killed by a bolt of lightning. Now, the legends also report recent sightings of a young girl wearing clothing from the late 1800s running and playing in this cemetery around this monument. Now, children who visit the cemetery with their parents report meeting and playing with a young girl, but when the parents go and look for her, they never see or hear the girl, so it's something that supposedly only kids can see, and that's part of the legend. Now, there's also been numerous stories about guards and night watchmen at the cemetery, and this goes back for years, reporting that the box containing the statue of Inez has been empty whenever there's a summer thunderstorm. Now, apparently, Inez is afraid of being struck by lightning again, so whenever the storm approaches, she disappears out of this box. Now, whether you believe it or not is completely up to you. It's really hard to prove or disprove this, but it is very apparent or very likely that this box just fogs up when it storms, so, making the statue harder to see. Now, ghost hunters and investigators have been curious about this story for years and wondering who Inez Clarke actually was, and they've poked some holes in the story of Inez Clarke. Now, first of all, there is no Inez Clarke, not in cemetery records, not in the city census. Some of these reports suggest that the statue was simply a sample made by Gagel to demonstrate his artistry and was placed at the cemetery as an advertisement of his work. That theory, however, doesn't explain the weathered inscription on the marker beneath the statue. Now, the marker beneath the statue says daughter of J.N. and M.C. Clark, born September 20th, 1873, died August 1st, 1880. Now, others have reported that Inez was Mary Clark's daughter from her first marriage, and her name is actually Inez Briggs, and she died of diphtheria, not a lightning strike. Now, supporting that theory is the 1880 Chicago Census report, which shows a 7-year-old girl named Inez Briggs living with her grandparents, David and Jane Rothrock. According to that theory, Inez was sent to live with her grandparents after her parents divorced. After Inez passed away, her grandparents commissioned the statue. Mary Briggs married John N. Clark, and somehow all 3 generations ended up here together at Graceland Cemetery. Now, it appears that the facts don't support the stories and the legends of Inez, but they don't disprove them either. Now, whether she's Inez Clarke or Inez Briggs, nobody will ever really know, and whether she died from diphtheria or a lightning strike or on a picnic with her parents or at her grandparents' home, there's really no proof that Inez does not leave her glass box during thunderstorms, as people said, or that there's no proof that she does not play with young cemetery visitors, because we really don't know. Now, whether you believe any of this stuff or not, one thing is for sure, that it's a beautiful statue, it's inspired some really interesting stories, and that everybody who visits Graceland Cemetery finds their way to visit Inez Clarke. The stories have been going on for generations. This statue is very beautiful as it is, and there's a lot of interesting people and a lot of interesting monuments around it. So this is a very historic cemetery, a very interesting place to come and visit. If this is your first time seeing my channel, I just did an entire cemetery tour of famous graves at Graceland Cemetery. So be sure to like and subscribe and check us out. But this is the grave of Inez Clarke, otherwise could be Inez Briggs. But this is one of Chicago's greatest legends and lores and ghost stories. But that's all we have for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.